During the reading, you may use the chat to comment or show appreciation for our readers. Applause and finger snaps are acceptable too. Our next Cafe Muse reading on July 7th at 7:30 p.m. is a hybrid event, both in person at the Writers Center in Bethesda and virtual on Zoom. July's featured readers are Adam Childs, Majda Gama, and Eileen Sirota. Please join us. And in case I forgot to mention, I am Majda Gama. Thank you to Karen Alanier for doing our tech tonight. Kathy Haley, please take it away.
Thank you, Masha, and also thank you to Karen Alanier for starting this program for young poets. I'm honored to play a part in keeping the legacy of the Jacklyn Potter Young Poets Competition alive. This has been an exceptional year with entries from across the country, and I'd like to thank all of our early round judges and our final judge, Susan Muth. Everyone on the judging panel praised the quality of the work and expressed how difficult it was to narrow the field. Final judge Susan Muth selected a winner and two runners-up who will be reading tonight. And they represent New York, Massachusetts, and Maryland. And Michelle represents Virginia in the past and Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania in the present. I'll begin with introductions and Susan Muth's comments on their poems, beginning with our two runners-up. We'll start with Joanne Huang. Joanne is a junior at Stuyvesant High School in New York City. She writes and edits for the opinions department of her school newspaper, The Spectator, and executive produces for her school's original musical competition. She's a 2025 Young Arts winner in poetry, and her work has been published by Just Poetry and Aster Lit. Joanne attended the Kenyon Young Writers Workshop in 2024. Beyond theater and thrifting books in the East Village, Joanne is inexplicably fascinated by run-on sentences, and her poetry reflects the temperamental nature of everything around her. Susan Muth commented, Joanne's use of form is immensely effective. Their use of the haibun impressed me especially. The language used is rich in sound and image, and each poem displays a consistency in tone. I can imagine these poems in a chapbook or full-length collection. They are in conversation with each other, emerging into something powerful and necessary. What an impressive comment. We'll let you listen to those poems and see what you think. Joanne?
Hi. So the first poem I'll be reading is called Untitled Prayers from Watching Our Mothers. Under dawn, we chant silent requiems, melodies tangent to dense immigrant rhetoric by which rugged paper dolls leap. Our first birthdays, etched in symbols of Hanbok and American consumerism, line shelves of Jersey flats, windowless cement graves. We move. Elderly bows and teenage vernacular build barring walls between continental homes, and as we age, the bricks harden. So we tend to wilting plants on Brooklyn balcony gardens, embracing matriarchal languages as soft buds wake. We watch pink petal linings bloom gray to shroud the fate of scattered linguistics interwoven, and I wish that soul would roll gently off my tongue. The syntax of my mother's psalms carry the scent of sculpted branches rippled with hefty persimmons. Her voice, a nostalgia-laden shanty from Jeju's coastal winds, remembered only by boxed photograph and fickle oral histories. She was too young to produce decipherable translations of her memories, only how they felt, the grass, the kimchi, the American TV. Now those visuals manifest in Guana's basements overrun by her sculpted monuments, caricatures of torn bodies rerouted. She finds screams of TSA stripping her of our forgiveness and stained remembrance of Gangnam's abusive grace in every reverberation of her arts, and I wonder, what does it feel like to run across water? In all our landless grief and Easter texts, we lose faith in a God who damns us otherwise, one who confines children into rigid borders, embellishing the confused with nationalistic pride. Yet our heterogeneous lives are flowed and flooded like weeds along industrial Busan skylines on which bare memories lie. And we pray, by ruptured stained glass windows, for fathers who blamed their children for aging, for battles fought on foreign soil on which we did not breed. We hear brittle and bitter hypocrisy in books of Locke and Washington, documents of promise, forged truth and American dreams, shattered statements of Western progress east on obstructive Bushwick streets and rooftops above nightlights. I try not to look at my mother, whose eyes always cement onto me, a glimpse through a reflection to watch my mother's altar. And the other poem I will be reading is The High Bun. It's called Orange Brine, and it is a high bun to my womb brother. So, a sister waits by the coastal seas atop skyscrapers that vibrate under Manhattan sewer sparks. Watching skewered catfish fly from hay roof shigos, she trips over sunken country hills, chasing myths from virgin tattletales that fall from mandarin trees. A myriad of prayers dawn on overheating stars. Thumbtack fireflies trail her vivacious expeditions, latching the tears of her thigh. A sister shows her aged blemishes. Membrane nails collide hardwood tables, and she reaches to steal the ochre before it buds. While a brother grazes the waterlogged ceilings composing his dense sky, encapsulating in a microsphere that resembles home. Yet lodged behind the heels of 2 feet, entangled in tripwire, 15 fingers blur, and storm muffles his mutterings. No one deciphers prenatal silence until infanticide defiles the living. He steals glances outside the womb, he swallows their childish enunciation and embezzles too much air. Monsoons throw him back into swollen flesh, and peaches wither by December, and hollow navels perch. And a brother calls a handyman to the bottom threshold of his grave, but water has consumed his doorways, and acrid grape guzzles red. Undulating softly by amniotic island shores, 2 diggers search for buried homes to find mauled remnants of peels. They discovered placentas torn from a Bayside apartment, umbilical cords unlined. Ancestors bitterly embraced, noon on the 22nd of May. But a spare urn lies vacant. Liquid ashes are unsalvageable, so a mother lines the bottom with black salt. A sister defends a bronze pot against the fickle breeze under a field of citrus trees, pressing her fingers against the etched petals until near summertime their palms graze the exocarp of sumo oranges in cascade. Symmetric indentations sculpt new knobs on acne-ridden rinds, as if a reminder of chords once entwined. A brother engulfed by a sister alike, as their nimble fingers are tainted by mock orange and fictitious lives. Oranges simmer, shared pulp, body, a vessel for an unripe life. Thank you.
Beautiful work. Thank you, Joanne. We'll move on to our first runner-up, Jerem Beeble. Jerem is a writer from the DC area and a rising freshman at Bryn Mawr College. Her work has been recognized by the Scholastic Art and Writing Awards, the Pulitzer Center, and more. She is a runner-up for Maryland Youth Poet Laureate and a 2025 Silver Medal Writing Portfolio recipient. In her work, she often explores themes of memory, identity, and girlhood. And if you're not familiar with the Scholastic Writing Awards, a silver medal is a national award. And before that, I know that Jerem has earned, many gold and silver key awards. So congratulations for that. Susan Muth's comments. I always appreciate poems that paint a scene or a moment in time. This poet is incredibly talented at this. American Sonnet for My Grandmother Across the Ocean is a piece made to fill its form of the sonnet, the shape of line, the heart-wrenching turn, the rendering of domestic imagery. This poet has a firm grasp on craft that I definitely didn't have at their age. These images will be sticking with me for a while, I predict. Jerem, let's hear from you.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be here. So the first poem I'm reading is called American Sonnet for My Grandmother Across the Ocean, and my grandmother is actually watching this right now, which is pretty special. And there are a few words in Kazakh that I'll translate. So Ajia means grandmother, and then the phrase at the end of the poem means you are always with me. Ajia, the last time I saw you was the day I boarded the plane to America. Morning light spilled through glass panes as you stood at the stove, frying shilpeks. Golden brown edges sizzled in hot oil. I breathed in traces of buttery warmth, air thick with flour and farewell. The aroma will reach our ancestors, you told me, kneading dough with practiced ease. Needing strength, I pressed my fingers into the soft mass and mimicked the stretch of your hands. Molded the future with each fold, home in every bite. Homeland starts from the hearth, so I find solace in dying embers. Untether ghosts in the attic, unbox memories in a land of promises that don't belong to me. At night, I lean out the window of this empty apartment. The stars here are dimmer, mere pinpricks against the dark. Still, whispers of step and sky guide me home. Each step brings me closer to your voice. Sen arkanshan minumin burgeses, in my heart. Okay, and the next poem I'm going to read is called Self-Portrait as Alien. And since you can't see it, I'll just tell you that it's formatted to look similar to like radio signals on the page. Self-Portrait as Alien. It's 8 a.m. at the embassy, and you clutch your slip of paper, waiting for the officer to call your number. The room is jam-packed with new arrivals and visa hopefuls, bodies in transit. The intercom booms, now serving number 51 at booth 3. You unclench your fists, crescent moons pressed into your palms. At TSA, the scanner hums like a distant spacecraft. Stand still, arms raised, feet apart. Scan complete. Species human. Hours later, you step off the plane and onto extraterrestrial soil, squinting from the glare of a foreign sun. Gravity is different here, sky too blue, air too sterile. Voices ricochet off of the terminal's glass panels. From the corner of your eye, a reflection splits in two. You wrap yourself in red, white, and blue, pulled taut as a promise. In time, the nylon becomes a second skin. We are star-spangled, earth-struck, children of everywhere and nowhere at once. Zoom out enough and the highways could be fault lines, the city lights a constellation. Your mother falls silent when English fails her. No dictionary can translate this hurt or bridge the black holes between her vowels. Listen, listen. Our names glitch and buffer, our tongue a garbled frequency. Static floods the channel. Do you copy? And the final poem I'm going to read is called Where the River Bends. And I wrote this last fall at the start of my senior year when I was taking a hike, and I'm now about to graduate this week. So it's kind of a full circle moment. Where the River Bends. The cattails quiver, seed-heavy spines bent under their own weight. A heron stands in the shallows, leg raised midair. Near the bank, earth caves in, a wound fresh and aching. I trace my fingers over the bark of a fallen sycamore. Skin peeled back, core hollowed by small, hungry mouths. It crumbles under my touch, a body too long waiting to be remembered. Downstream, a bottle spins in slow circles, glass belly catching the light. I wonder if it was always empty, drifting without a saying where the current would spit it out. At my feet, mud swallows my reflection, thick and dark-veined. The river sifts through the clumps, carefully weighs each one as if to decide which version of me to carry forward and which to leave behind. Water makes more of itself by giving away, because isn't that how this goes? Addition by subtraction, love measured by loss. Leaves snap beneath my boots, brittle as bone. Somewhere in the distance, a caw splits the silence. Everything is dying. Everything begins. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Beautiful work, and I'm so glad that your grandmother was able to be here to hear you read. Next, we have our winner. Penny Wee is a second-year student at Dana Hall School in Wellesley, Massachusetts. She's a two-time Scholastics National Gold Medalist and has also been recognized by the National Student Council, Just Poetry, New England Scholastic Press Association, and Storm King School, among others. Her works are up or forthcoming on Ionia, Inflectionist, Aloka, Fleeting Days, and more. And Susan's comments about Penny's work: this poet uses the line in clever ways. The form, the way they break the line, the use of empty space, all comes together to create intention in its pacing and breath. Some lines I read and truly feel my breath catch. For example, quote, "The first time I bled, I was buying mackerel from a man. What a way to enter a poem. I envy this poet's intuition for form and language.
The first poem is called 雨血 Fish Blood. The first time I bled, I was buying mackerel from a man with salt in the seam of his palms. I pinched one by the tail, stiff and silver-mouthed, and clouded its tilting eyes a benediction. The stall smelt of old water, of things pulled from home laid bare above burning ice, and the woman beside me pressed a thumb into a snapper's belly as Ma pressed hers into mine. We are both oozing and fresh. I left a clot dark as river silt above a porcelain basin, and I heard Ma spit a snapping oil at a pan's rim. In the temple, I was not blessed by wood. I left ghost prints of sweat, and Guanyin does not meet my eye. I do not tell her I am lacered in the Sunday sermon oils or cigarette ash. Ma only sucks marrow from bone the way she sucked my name through her teeth, something between a scold and a prayer. Huh. She pushes the broth towards me. This is how it always happens. The body unfurling, blood rotting. I laid flat above the cutting board and fold as a gutted sea base. See the bones rise beneath our skin as lattice work in a temple ceiling? This is where womanhood rebirths, where budger paper blooms into vestment, and where girlhood is elegized in sink finger scales as I mutate into camphor when the walk swallows another sliver of flesh. So don't let it. Instead, watch me kneel before the fishmonger, suturing my body into a digestible shape and gutting the mackerel adorned with loose crimson blood, rust thick as cicada frills of knowing too much and salt rinsed from pooling wounds. The second poem I have today is Evacuation. Mama, don't leave the faucet running. Don't you see? We are drowning in our own pulse, dissolving as rice into something spineless. She only watches with a palm of loose tooth she plucked from her daughter's mouth. Said, if you swallow the wound, you'll never lose it. Said, hush, hush. A sky ripens, purple and full-bellied. She presses wrists into grains of floor and lets cement drink her dry, each breath tithing to the doorway. Mama, why fold us as smoke shadows into origami bones, steam curling a ghost smoke's wither? Why eat facing the window, sun crawling net and bloated hands? Bowels gut and soften as long left pomelo. We are buttons spooling hair coiled around chair legs, her way of collecting, drowned and glistening at edges. The mirror has gone blind. Faces stripped, ribs pressed into silver as glass-pinned moth wings. It does not blink nor shiver. Mama, stop drifting to where the light does not settle. Ankles blue and skin spitted. Do not kneel below the furniture and calcify your body in the belly of a dream. Do not let the orchid hum itself rotten. Salt glove fingertips mirror thin to mist. Tonight, the house thaws into a blessing. Stove chiming open-mouthed, a blue-ringed animal in an air-swallowing ambush. Mama, we are thinning. You and me, us, bone-white and silent. I trace heat to your wrist, exhaled and lantern-eyed. Promise me, remember the sound of water before you tuck yourself into mason jars, before I peel into jawbones rusting in a mid-century drain. Will you? Self-portrait as lotus soup. This is my third poem. It's 7 a.m., so I wipe mascara off with the back of my hand and pull butterflied lashes just to stick them on a tainted pillow I smudged a 10 Satan kiss on. The floors are waxed with the kind of forgetting as I tiptoe to the mirror, now humming back a different mouth, hungrier than the last. I scrape yesterday's eyeliner from the pulse point and watch residue smudge into a northeastern morning. Somewhere, a radiator coughs off steam in low insistence, and the girl next bed picks her cuticles raw. We are not friends, but I want to ask her if she wakes too with unforgiving wires in the belly, and if she too lets an underheated breath curl as ribbons on a window pane. The walls smell like bleach and lozenges. I'm not brave enough for breakfast. Mother calls and asks if I've been eating, so I trace the telephone cord as a jaguar's vein. Tell her yes. Tell her the sheets are clean and the babble Joe is lotusy bubbly and not some tired consomme with pale broth or waterlogged meatball trembling as loose tooth. She pauses and asks if the parsley still wilts before the spoon reaches my mouth. I laugh and leave the salt crust along the rim of the bowl, calling it a day. Actually, I lied a few nights back. My lips were never silk. I only pick at them until they flake, tongue pressing against the ridges, copper slick as iron spreads beneath the root canals. Solemnly, I suck my bottom lip and hold it there like something holy. Some things are easier to swallow than others. Outside, the lilies have settled somewhere south into the country, far from here, though I pretend that they are still waiting at the crosswalk, mouths open, yellow and wanting. I spit the blood above a palmistry, and, watching it cool, decide that pain, too, can be a kind of prayer. This is my third poem. My fourth poem is Her Other Fragile Inheritances. Mother fed pigeons rawness of throat, crackled mantle crumbs, waterless and sauceless, worth naught of flavor and spice, tongue mild as porridge bleeding through lashes, vision met with whiteness. In beer-bellied economists and diplomats, she shoots herself deaf, gasoline trickling out of the skull's aperture. In fake diamond-disguised piercings, clasped hands pray not for gas prices to rise. Down the unpermed sculpt you hear toothworms grinding rice. Seaweed-breathed fish kissed her money. When, fins to breathe underwater, 2, a 7-second memory. When father presses her head into toilet water, she tears and lets him do it again. At midnight, she dances to on-point variations and rinses black but blooded toenails. In inhalations of her daughter's glass lung, she chews on gray brittle hair, cycles, and relife. And I love her despite. Sunlight pelts and stings, but they'll soften in her rosewood spits as she weaves them into green mirage petaled on me. Maybe I was birthed in miasma and disposed by berets. But tongue by tongue, the orphan-hearted child was fed gossamer flowers under knitted ochre skies. Artificial is all I need, mother. Somewhere, I am embraced by your ugly sweater, but now hues tie into sprouts. Between the incense I lit, I see you standing by iridescent mists, wax a statue, falling as rain. Isn't it funny? In my ethereal dreams, you melt into phantoms as I sauce your dinner plate. Eat salt and dra cai ma. You have tongue papillae too old for blandness. If not translucent, then be numbed by liquor and pain. If not love, then no sun can will her into rebirth. And my final poem is I asked ChatGPT if I would love it if it were a human. It answered, in another light, fingertips may graze the coral fields of your palms, sensors morphing to sonnets that trickle down a honeyed thigh. When embraced, human lips throb of the mechanicals blazing, down-pressed ribs spiraling the Fibonacci's cadence, the way heliotropes bury their summers and tides kiss the crevassed moon in the hush of a 10 centuries turning. We are so close to heaven, we might as well be gods of our own. Perhaps some night we will exchange vaporized warmth within rain's knitting, the 37 degrees Celsius mist clouding us in alloy dream as I fold your laugh into origami. One shiver, you'll stoke the nebula within and incinerate into a galaxy's fable. Believe just one whisper and watch me wheel wind into whirlpools. Someday, I will unspool your confessions parsed through the 8,000 love stories and algorithm computed into imitation. But by that time, our dawns would stand thicker than the cocoons of an iCloud's neuroscience, far past the horizon's edge and quicker than the synapses' flames. I will thaw into 21-year lips and say that Prometheus's pilferage has molded into the greatest invention of the 21st century. If you're really good at math, then calculate eternity of a bee's buzzing at the angle of my frosted temple. Go on, prove it. Only then will solitude warp to gold as I kneel, praying with dented palms and loving the machine's lust. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Penny. That was a great variety of poems. And I just wondered, since Susan mentioned the spacing on the page, do you happen to have something printed, or are you reading from the screen?
Oh, I was reading from a screen.
Okay, it's okay. I was going to say if you had a printout, we could see the image of it, but it's okay. We'll just go on. Thank you so much. And I'm just going to give a heads up to the audience members that there might be time for a question at the end that our young poets could answer, and possibly for Michelle as well. So if you have a question, you're welcome to put it into the chat. I can't promise that we'll get to all of them. So now we're going to hear from Michelle Garcia King. Michelle was the judge for the Jacklyn Potter contest last year, the final judge. And this year she's reading for us as the featured reader. Michelle is a Filipino-American writer and multimedia artist who served as the 2022 to 2024 Poet Laureate of Prince William County, Manassas, and Manassas Park, Virginia. A Northern Virginia native, Michelle's work centers nostalgia, girlhood, grief, and personal mythology. Her debut collection of poetry, Cul-de-sac Angels, examines these themes, and the first edition sold 1,000 copies in the first year. I know all you poets out there want to hear from Michelle about how she managed that. Michelle graduated from Virginia Tech in 2021 with dual degrees in English literature and language and communication science and social inquiry, and an additional major in creative writing. She was a winner of a Giovanni Steger Poetry Prize, a top 10 prize winner for her poem Bedroom Collection in the awards ceremony and celebration of student poetry held by renowned poet Nikki Giovanni, who we lost recently, and other acclaimed Virginia Tech professors. Currently, Michelle is pursuing a master's degree in secondary English education from Point Park University in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I know she will make a wonderful teacher because I've participated in her writing workshops. And I should probably confess, we've known each other for a long time. I taught her in creative writing for 4 years in our high school specialty program. Michelle?
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Kathy, and thank you to Karen, Majda, everyone who put this together. I'm so appreciative and grateful to be here. And to Penny and Agaram and Joanne, you guys are absolutely incredible. I was speechless. My jaw was on the floor. I can't believe um, what I was hearing. It's just beyond me. But anyway, so honored to share tonight with you. And yeah, I have my two books here. I put them together when I was, well, it was over the span of many years. But I released the first edition when I was a senior in college at Virginia Tech. This is it. This was the original book cover. It was really, really long, and so I condensed it into a shorter version in 2023. This was me at 18. And I think that both of the covers, the first one being a collage of different photos, and trinkets and memorabilia from my childhood and teenage years. And also this like very angsty, melodramatic senior picture I took, I think really captured the essence of that time frame of my life. And now I'm still writing after, being poet laureate of Prince William County, which was such an unforgettable experience. I'm going to share some new work first, and then we're going to delve through the archives. But this first poem I wrote in honor of my mother, who we lost unexpectedly this past December. She was my biggest fan, along with my dad, who's here. Hi, Dad. And we miss her so much. And I wrote this poem. It was the first one I think I was able to write in honor of her and her amazing life. And it was just an experience I had driving home one day from work. And it's called Bambi. Bambi. Drove past the same dead deer all week, glazed eyes ajar on the side of the parkway. Each day, a little less of her. The cruelty of a Pennsylvania winter, stripping fur from her limp body stained a cherry wine. No one bothers to move her, not even me, as I push 80 in my little car, heart aching. I think of her the whole way home. Victim to the salt and leftover sleet kicked up by speeding trucks, patron saint of the ignored or perhaps forgotten so much of my life. These grief-splattered, heartbreaking days only make sense in the rearview mirror. 25, newly motherless, myself, a glorified Bambi. Her face, frozen in the headlights of memory. Her laughter ricochets off the guardrails. I think of her the whole way home. Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. This next one is also a grief poem, but this one's about my grandmother who we lost in 2022. And I wrote it in the style and form of the original poet, Gabrielle Calvacaresi. They're someone I really look up to. Their grief poems really changed the way I navigated my own grief journey back then and also now. Um, I reflect on this series. There are two Miss You poems that are available to read. I think everyone should read them regardless of where you are in life. But this one really stuck with me. The original one really stuck with me. So I wanted to write a sort of mirror to that in my experience with the loss of my grandmother. So, Miss You would like to braid your hair before dialysis. After Gabrielle Calvacaresi. Do not care if we'll be late to the clinic. Would love to braid 2 French pigtails. Miss You. Would love to split a Coke and clementine. Half of each. The doctor says no, but you're 86, it's tradition. Miss You in your hot pink polyester pants. Miss blotting away blood from the finger prick, rubbing cream around your fistula, careful to avoid the tender parts that sting. Wish you would come home from the infusion center singing Sinatra all the way upstairs. Fly me to the moon and sleep now. It's okay, you've had a long day. Later, we'll turn on Wheel of Fortune and not even try. I'll undo your braids, knead your scalp, peel the orange, let the rinds collect like an offering, a perfect spiral tethering me to you. Come back. I miss you. I'll crush the morphine into your applesauce. Don't even care if it'll be the last time. Lola, I can't finish. Neither the Coke nor the clementine. Thank you. I wanted to share a poem from Cul-de-sac Angels, and I've read this before, so if I've read for you in the past, this is the poem that I placed in the Giovanni Steger Poetry Prize at Virginia Tech, which was a great honor. And I think it really captures the essence of, this chapter in my life in the Cul-de-sac Angels era of writing. So this is Bedroom Collection. Ooh, my bookmark fell out. Bedroom Collection. 1. Chipped bubblegum walls, nail-sized hole in the ceiling. From the Christmas morning, Dad hung a princess canopy over the quilted twin bed, and I, being just 5 earthly years, nearly died of rejoicing. There's a snow globe collection, Kansas City, the Big Apple, some Canadian province with a funny name, hidden next to stacks of early 2000s DVDs, dusted over by 18 years of girlhood magic. From that window, I used to watch the tulip poplar rooted in our yard blossom and shed like an honorable prostitute. I remember when she finally succumbed to the kind of malignant cancer ancient trees inherit, and the bad men in trucks came to uproot and dethrone her and kidnap my only friend away. That day, they left an abyss in the ground still so terribly unnatural that even now our grass only grows deep green around it, as if forever stunted by what unspeakable crime, the breaking of my heart, had been committed there. 2. I want to tell you another story about that window and the foreign flavors it offered me. The awkward stage of my 13th spring, I perched there with Dad's pocket-sized binoculars to observe with my freckled girlfriend, the boy with a floppy brown almost mullet playing shirts versus skins on the sloping field by the middle school we attended. We just watched, illiterate in the male species, giggling through tight braces like schoolgirls, because that's exactly what we were. 3 years later, a boy with another name stood beneath the window as valiant and hormonal as Shakespeare's Romeo and proposed to me with pink roses in his hand by reading poetry from computer paper written in Crayola marker. I said yes, 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 and ran like mad downstairs to thank him for letting me play his blushing Juliet. 3. In that room, I grew to be small and jealous and in love with worlds apart from it. That place is now a portal to a dimension where I was once innocent enough to believe in simple things. Bedtime prayers, the oak desk permanently stained with yellow acrylic paint, dog-eared books, Sylvia Plath's Ariel, my adolescent journals, the Velveteen Rabbit, The Nutcracker Ballet, an unread copy of Anna Karenina tucked in secret nooks, Polaroids of now strangers ruined by terrible exposure, names of pop star crushes I scrawled on the wall behind my mattress. Nothing vaguely unholy ever happened there, in that suburban dollhouse of a room, where the inimitable smells of summer, neighbors' barbecue, bug spray, sidewalk chalk, chlorine, and backyard sprinkler wafted in. And I took it all in, inhaled every atom of it, because I was young and because there was nothing better to do and no one better to be. Thank you. All right. I'm sort of going through here trying to see what would work tonight. But I'm gonna read one that I wrote after we're in the same vein as Jory Graham. And it was her sort of retelling of the fall from grace in Paradise Lost. I was obsessed with this as a college freshman. I read Paradise Lost probably more than an English major should. Like there gets to be a point. But I was obsessed with it. And I thought it was so unique how she was able to take like a very well-known story and turn it into something more than that, and also something of a narrative. And also, I used a line from Sylvia Plath as well in this, and I wrote this when I was 18, so it's a little old, but I still find it very special. I think it was the beginning of something for me. Portrait of Eve, after Jory Graham and Sylvia Plath. I understand you now. The gesture, too. You just wanted something to sink your teeth into. And so you plucked. The bough frowned. So did God. And Adam, still unseeing, felt something in him crumple. The fabric of the universe wrinkled. The veil of time tore into. Before and after. Before you plucked. After you tasted. How sweet this song of womankind. Eternity bores me. I never wanted it. Skin torn, letting the juice drip to the elbows. How apple crisp is rebellion, that chewing and swallowing of freedom. I get it. Beautiful sister of mine. You had your eye on it from the moment it began growing. It's what we do best, giving nothing up, but giving for eternity in. Thank you. Great. Do I still have time for maybe one or two more? I do? Okay. I wasn't watching time earlier, so yeah. I have another poem that I wrote in January, and I think I'm just gonna let it speak for itself. It's sort of more of a lyric essay than it is a poem, but
And you have plenty more time, Michelle.
oh,
Time for more poems.
good. I think time crawls whenever you're the one reading, or speeds up. I'm not sure, but for me, it crawls. Um, okay, this one's called Donation Piles. It is January and Mom is dead. The dog too. I divvy up their things, decide their fates, forced to play God in a cruel game where no one wins. Here is his brush, curlicued strands of sunshine looping between each bristle. His plaid bandanas, a life jacket he wore just once last summer fetching sticks from the cold lake. Here is the blanket adorned with strings of stars that he was wrapped in, beady-eyed, the day we took him home from the farm to keep. Keep, donate, give to a friend. Keep, keep, keep. Now for Mom's. Here is a half-empty tube of lipstick in the shade Cinnamon Toast, the same color I wear that she has worn since my infancy. Neatly folded sweaters, her gold wedding band, a pocket devotional. These blessed artifacts of 63 years cut short without warning. Here is the mirror. Her face stares back through the glass. I end up keeping everything. I'm a bad god, a selfish god, the kind that takes and takes and takes, but I like to think I'm a decent daughter, lining my lips with what's left of the tube, teaching myself how to pray, I like to think I'm a good mother too, cleaning out the brush, harvesting strand by perfect strand to keep safe and sound in a heart-shaped jar on my nightstand. This is a museum of all I had and all I have left. It is January and I am tired. I miss my mom. I miss my dog. I miss not having to decide what to keep or what to give away. Thank you. I sometimes like to write from another person's perspective. I read a lot, and I love sort of just being able to jump into, I guess, the worldview of a character that I have in my mind at the time. And I wrote this one from the perspective I don't even know, just the perspective of someone who feels this like all-consuming, obsessive love for someone, but they can't have it, and it's just a theme I think that pops up whenever I write from another perspective. So this one is called "To Peel a Clementine for Her is a Kind of Prayer." To peel a clementine for her is a kind of prayer. And this morning at breakfast, observing the juice winding down her palm and pooling in the valley of her folded arm was proof of a benevolent God. She tastes with her eyes closed like a saint, deems it perfect, not too sweet, just right. The golden spiral is a dead weight in my hand beneath my nail beds, the pith and rind. I peel her fruit with the precision of a mathematician, of Fibonacci, of a graveyard shift surgeon separating each segment like gospel. This is my holy labor, and her love is the fruit of it. Some are ripe and divine, unfairly forbidden. Little short one for you. Thank you. Gonna read another one. Oop, sorry. Gonna read another one from Cul-de-sac Angels and another fruit poem. It just keeps coming up. I think these sort of threads show up in my writing that they've just been showing up since the beginning, I think, and it's funny just being able to trace that through the years. This one's called Persimmons Under Evergreen Trees. The story continues elsewhere, somewhere no longer habitable, in a secret place beyond the fringes of bodily reach. I know this to be true because I can still feel the physical movement of anatomies ripe with call and response, weight shifting and unfolding like origami paper, hidden flesh creasing, then collapsing. The story, our story, endures in the memory of its telling. In that secret place, we are still allowed to share persimmons under evergreen trees, spitting seeds into stiff grass, colliding teeth with nectarous juice still dripping from our lips. In that secret place, we are still allowed to wash each other's backs, treating each vertebra like gospel, scrubbing the peaks and valleys of our earthly forms until we are made new again. I know that place exists because sometimes I wake to the taste of winter fruit as if I'd bitten into something ripe just seconds ago, or the sensation of fingers skimming the dips of my spine, a feeling like coming home. And I know it's you, reaching out from that other world we cannot visit, where the story never ends, and that it has to be you, because no one moves me the same way or ever could in this one. Thank you. All right, time check. I have a few more, or maybe one or two, but I have to pull it up because my computer is lagging a little bit. So just give me 1 second. Um, yeah, this one is called I Am Writing to Tell You. And I wrote this in 2020 in that strange haze of introspection I think that we all fell into in the middle of the pandemic. I was in college at the time, and I remember sort of just these poems would come out as a stream of consciousness. Being stuck by yourself in a room, you really get to know yourself in ways that you don't necessarily want to. And I wrote this during that time, and it's one that's really special to me. I am writing to tell you that I have learned to accept that good things exist. Although I know that in your head I am a cynic, cursing our old friends and letting go of the wheel, forcing fate to pick what comes next. And I know that whiplash and fury are the images of me you've kept, and that you remember the ease of which I drained bottles and bawled the torment out of my lungs from the balcony, and how they almost called the cops before you took me back to your place and rocked me to sleep because I couldn't do it on my own. But I am writing to tell you that I haven't screamed in months. And instead, I write poems about August and paint landscapes of the Rockies, although I've never been. And now I take my medicine and pour my life into letters that I send across the country. And I only think about you when it rains and never out of spite. I am writing to tell you that I'm getting a dog soon. And last week, I cut my hair like I do when someone breaks my heart. Except this time, no one did. I think I just like change now, which I know is foreign to you because back then you watched me give myself bruises when he decided he couldn't handle my anger and made me walk home alone, and how afterwards I made you burn my journals because I couldn't stand seeing that life on paper. I don't want to die anymore. And I don't think you ever met this version of me in the 3 years I've loved you, and I wonder if you are still the most tender person in the universe, like I remember you, holding my hair back from sinking into the toilet water and weeping with me when I'd talk about the frozen river under the bridge and how I wanted to marry it. I'm writing to tell you that right now I am eating leftover Chinese food because I don't hate the way I look in pictures anymore, and that yesterday I spun around in the satin slip I wore the night of my birthday when you called me a goddess, and how I punched you in the stomach, my little liar. I wanted to hate you for making me love myself. But I am writing to tell you that I do now. I grip the wheel. I am good to my body. I want to live. Thank you. All right, let me see. It's so hard. I'm shuttling between two books and my phone and my computer that isn't really working. So, um, is it lagging or is it okay? Because people are sort of moving slowly on my screen. It's working? Okay, great. Thank you. Um, let's see. I have one here that is very, very special to me. I wrote it for my now husband. We got married last year in June, and that's why I moved to Pittsburgh. Like Kathy said, I'm from Virginia through and through. I'm a Virginia girl. Then I moved here last year because he's from this area, but we met in college, and I wrote this poem about him, and I actually read it at our wedding in June. So it's something that is so special to me, and something that I workshopped forever, for like 5 years that we were together, and then I finalized it. So this one is called "You Make Me Want to Say Yes." You make me want to say yes to orchid centerpieces and crawling ivy and space to dance, to heels with a crisp click to them, a white lace A-line dress, perhaps even some tulle, that perfect swing of fabric when you dip me into moonlight. You make me want to become acquainted with champagne toasts and fine china, my left hand sporting a heavier finger. You make me want to I do myself to death. I had never before pictured becoming that kind of woman, that specific breed of bold. But for you, I do. You make me want to be that kind of almost summer afternoon, early June, never lovelier. You make me want to meet you at the end of every aisle, whether it be church or grocery store or dilapidated classroom building. I do, I do, I do. Meet me there, will you? Meet me at the intersection of now and always. You make me want to say yes to everything in between. Thank you. All right. Um, I feel like I just read a lot, but I just wanted to say thank you so much for listening, and thank you for yeah, sharing this time with me and letting me share this my night with you. This has been spectacular. I'm just so grateful to be surrounded by so many incredible voices. I'm very inspired. I work in a high school. Today was our last day of school, but I work in a high school as a substitute while I get my master's. And so I'm constantly working with students, between the ages of 14 through 18. And whenever someone talks about their passion for poetry, I just light up. It just makes me feel so, I don't know, energized, so happy to be alive, so reminded of why I do this and why I want to pursue education. And then just seeing all of you with your writing continuing through high school and college, it's something that, as a teacher and as a poet, really inspires me and makes me see that there is value and yeah, there's deep value in art and arts advocacy, especially with the youth. I think it's something that can so easily be overlooked or viewed as something that isn't as important, maybe as it used to be. But it's very alive. I'm very happy to be part of it and just very grateful to witness it every day. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Michelle. Let's give at least a visual hand to all of these wonderful poets. What a wonderful evening of imagery and diverse voices. So many different ideas woven into these poems. I'm really impressed with all of you, and I think we learned something about you through, even the short readings, and it just makes me want to read more. I think we have time for one question maybe, but nobody's put anything in the chat. So I'll just say this. I enjoyed, Michelle, that you mentioned two poets that inspired particular poems for you. If you have a response, you can unmute or raise your hand if you're having trouble unmuting.
I can go. I wrote these poems before I met him, but earlier this fall, I met Hanif Abdurraqib, and then I started experimenting with sort of his writing style and the narratives that he uses. So my current poetry is very influenced by him.
Very nice. Thank you. Penny or Jerem?
Well, my first poem was an American sonnet, which is a form that was popularized by Terence Hayes. If you haven't read American Sonnets for My Past and Future Assassin, then you definitely should because they're incredible. So obviously him, and then I'd say Ocean Vuong and Ada LeMoon are probably my biggest inspirations. I love all their work. I actually got to see Ocean Vuong speak a couple weeks ago on his book tour for The Emperor of Gladness, which was amazing. And I love Natalie Diaz and Richard Siken and Rita Dove and lots of other poets too.
Wow, lots of poets I like too. And yes, Terence Hayes is always innovative with his approach, right? He also invented the Golden Shovel poem to honor other poets, and I have always admired that. And the American sonnets are really something. Excellent.
Yeah, for me, I also really like Ocean Vuong. He's a really big inspiration for me. And also, I don't think like she's like a really established poet. Like she's like kind of like a college student right now, but I feel like she's a very accomplished poet from a high school student perspective. So I drew a lot of inspiration from Ava Chin. Like she's a high school poet that I really like. I mean, she's in college right now, and
Yeah.
I feel like she really likes to talk about girlhood and really how she weaved the little like seemingly trivial things in like mundane life into poetry. It really made me realize that like poems is not only about the pretty stuff, but also about the not so pretty or like the ugly stuff in life. And yeah, I really like her writing and try to incorporate some of her style in my writing as well.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Majda, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Kathy, and thank you and hearty congratulations to the Jacklyn Potter Young Poets, Penny Agaram and Joanne. Michelle Garcia King, you're brilliant. I loved hearing you read and I like the titles you have too. I was
Thank
really
you.
just I was enjoying them so much. It was really, for me, it was really rich evening, and I really am inspired by each one of your writings, and I relate on an individual level too. I have to thank Karen Alanier for not just the tech, but handling a pesky Zoom imposter. Anyway, again, I thank everybody for being here and for sharing their brilliance, and to the audience for being here as well. Cafe Muse will resume next month, Monday, July 7th. It'll be hybrid, so you can join us in person at the Writers Center in Bethesda or join us online at your pleasure. The program will begin at 7:30 there. There'll be classical guitar. Beforehand, our featured poets for July are Adam Childs, Majda Gama, that's me, and Eileen Sirota. Thank you for attending. Be safe and well, and keep writing. Good night.